I was blessed. I knew all four of my grandparents, and my um, grandmother Burns was when she died in 1952 was 86, and all my grandparents lived to either 80 or up to 86, and the oldest relative I knew, going down further, was my dad. He lived to be 102 and a half, and died in that same house. He never ever moved out, never went to the hospital, and he ended up dying in his own home, and so that was a blessing too. Yeah. We didn't have that much money and so forth, but we had water in the house, cold water, no hot water, and no inside toilets, no inside bath, and we had a bathtub that we bathed in the kitchen. Just cute little story, when I was getting married, I didn't want any wood stove or anything like that, but I wanted to have a fireplace and a chimney, so when whatever kind of heat I had, because if the power goes off, you don't have oil, you don't have gas, you don't have electric. So a little standby. And so I finally found this house I bought. It had a fireplace, I had electric heat, had all the bells and whistles. I didn't have to worry about chopping wood or getting in or that, and the dirt from the oil and all the rest of it. And that has only been lit once in 56 years. It's even closed out, but it's a fireplace. So I've never been out of power that long, so I didn't need it. Yeah. Another thing that was interesting on Fifth Street, just as you go up now on Fifth Street, and where the rail was, on the right-hand side, just before you get to Menzies, there was what we called, and I guess it was a corral, and people could bring cattle and horses and all of that in. And in those earlier days, there were people moving here, what we call lock, stock, and barrel. Horses, cows, cats, all their furniture and everything, and they would come in on a freight train. All the livestock would be put in the corral, and then they would walk them to the farm, wherever the farm was out in the country. So we used to have a lot of fun as kids up there watching that. We had a circus come to town a few times, a real animal circus, Clyde Beatty Circus. So the whole works came in up at the rail there. Why, man, we were in heaven then. We had all kinds of activity, elephants and everything coming in and that. So that all changed over the years. Yeah. Now it's gone the other way. That isn't there. Sometimes people ask me, why did you join the fire department? I said, well, I guess, to be really honest, it was exciting. But every time the alarm went, you knew something was happening. But the other thing I always like to say, too, is that every time the alarm went, whether it be a fire or ambulance, somebody was in trouble, and we were going to try and help them. When I arrived, I was there first before the truck arrived. It was burning, fire coming out everywhere. More than, I didn't realize it was as bad because of smoke and everything. The desk clerk came to me and I said, how many people, or is everybody out, I think I said. And he said, no, everybody's still in. So we had to start thinking, but it was burning so bad inside and up through the hotel that our firemen it tried to go in, but they couldn't. So we had to rescue the people out through windows and everything. And in the end, everybody was out. In fact, one more than what was on the list even. We saved 27 and there was only 26 on the list. So somebody just visiting, I guess. We got an ambulance call to go up onto 14th up here, close to Lake Trail, where 14th goes to Willamar Avenue. And there was emergency. So when the siren went and two of us went. And I always remember getting to that house and the lady's running out of the house with this little baby, about, I don't know, a few weeks old. And she, puffing, and she hands this baby to me and says, I've been giving it mouth to mouth. It was just in the early days of the mouth to mouth artificial respiration that we know so well now. And she said, and handed it to me. So I started giving it mouth to mouth, and she told me quickly what had happened. She found it in the crib death, they call it oftentimes. And so I gave this little baby mouth to mouth all the way to the hospital at Comox, and that little baby survived. Many years later, well, quite a number of years later, I always had a fire safety badge for the girl guides. Used to come to the fire hall for all the girl guides places in the valley, and I would give them a 3-night course on fire safety and everything, and included in it was CPR. And this little girl came up to me after one night, one of the classes one year, and she said, "Are you Mr. Burns?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "You saved my life." I thought, whose life have I saved? She said, "I was that little baby that you saved." Wow, I'm telling you, tears came down my eyes, and I thought, man, oh man, felt like hugging her, you know. But quite a number of years later, another little girl comes up to me about 20 odd years later, asked me if I was Mr. Burns. She was the daughter of the lady. She said, "You saved my mom's life." So I thought, I'm getting too old. I was right about there on a Sunday morning in June, 23rd, I think it was, when the earthquake hit in 1946. And I had just been down, we used to look after all the Vancouver Island Coastline's buses. And it was a Sunday morning, we didn't open the garage on Sunday, but we had to come down and gas them all up, and clean them, sweep them and everything. And I just backed one of those buses in, and I was only 17 then, so I didn't have a driver's license for driving buses, but I used to drive around on the private property and maybe go a little further, and because I kind of like driving buses. But I backed it in and used to line them up so the bumpers were nice and neat, and I just got it all done and shut the engine off, kind of almost pat myself on the back of doing a good job, and then all of a sudden, like that, and I thought I'd hit something and didn't realize it, you know. And then I could hear glass breaking on the stores in the window, and I looked out, I ran out of the bus, and I looked up Duncan Avenue, and the chimneys were just falling like this, you know, and the whole of Duncan Avenue was just like, you know, on the water and the ocean with little waves like that, was just like that. I thought the end had come, and I thought this was all going to open up. Post office, partly, which is where the museum is now, the wall collapsed on it. It was scary. They said it was only 30 seconds, but that was the longest 30 seconds I ever saw, or heard, or felt. But yeah, our garage just got one window cracked in it, was all. And in those days, it doesn't show here, but we had the gas pumps were not electric pumps. We hadn't got electric pumps. So you used to pump gas up into maybe you've seen pictures of them, 10 gallons. And they were just waving backwards and forwards like that in the like wind. Yeah, it was scary, yeah, but I was here then, yeah. I think Courtney has been good to me, and I've tried to be good to it. Over the years, I've devoted my whole life to doing things for Courtney because I like Courtney, and but always when it came to deciding, when I got out of school, all my friends were going to university, I'm going to stay in Courtney. Stayed with my dad, worked with him, and that was good. When we sold the garage, that was my livelihood. What am I going to do? And every job that I could have got at that time, not everyone, I would have to leave Courtney. So I stayed in Courtney and worked in another garage And then when decisions came, I always decided on staying here. That's why I'm still here. Hopefully, I'll be here till I go.
It is interesting how far we came, same as Terry.
Yeah. One of the things I always say, and never cease to be thankful for, the vision and the whatever it was that caused these pioneers to come. Like my grandfather, for instance. Dad says he knew him better than I did because he was born and brought up with him. But my grandpa that came here and looked for that property, I don't know why he ever did that really, because he said he was a baker. He was a baker by trade. And the only tools he had when he came here was a carpenter's saw, one that the carpenters use, and an axe. And he didn't know how to use either of them. Now, he went out in the bush and hacked out a place to live and produce. And, it was quite a few years before, as a kid, we had a refrigerator, but I don't know how people live without a refrigerator. If the fridge breaks down, what are you going to do? But they made butter and sold butter, and they had to keep it to take it once a week to Cumberland. How in the world? But then all these people that have been the pioneers that have come here, building the roads, and even know because now we go up with a plane and say, oh yeah, there's a place we could build a road down there, but no planes. It amazes me when they came out here with the railway to think that they hacked through the mountain and maybe about 100 yards down here there was a place that could have gone easier, but they would have no way of knowing it. So all that, and I think that's the great thing that you say, appreciate what we've got now. I can get in the car and drive to Calgary and know that this is the best route, and I'm going to be safe doing it. Thank God for those people that made that possible for me. And I think that's good when we have young people thinking that way.